Today we are making a video on Ubuntu Kylin. Here is a boot menu and the version of Ubuntu Kylin is a 23.04 and the code name is a Lunar Lobster. It is a flavor of Ubuntu 23.04. Here is the boot menu. In order to boot it in a live boot, try or install Ubuntu Kylin. Click on enter and these are all the available options, other available options. So let me boot it in a live boot. It should take like a maximum of 1 minute or a minimum of 30 seconds. That's the usual timing which every Linux distro takes. And I'm running it on a virtualization which is a VMware with 80 GB of hard disk, 4 GB of RAM and 2 processors. So I'll be posting 2 videos daily without missing. I already made content on other video. So if you want to check that out, you can check that out after watching this video. And there are like 3 Ubuntu flavors which I usually hate, like for example Ubuntu Kylin, and other one is Ubuntu Budgie, and other one is also Ubuntu Studio. These are all the 3 Ubuntu flavors which I really hate. That's my opinion. If you love it, I don't have any problem, because I always had issues with these Ubuntu flavors. For the sake of the content I should make, because I promise that I will provide the latest Linux distro information for my viewers. So that's the reason I will be making this Linux distros. Even I hate deep in Linux, but for the sake of my viewers I should make that content, because I promise that I will be making latest videos or the latest content on the latest Linux releases. Whether I hate it or I like it, I should make that content on them. So it's clearly up to you to use it or not. You should be one to judge it to use that Linux distro or not. So here we can see our mouse pointer. You should be seeing a mouse pointer with a highlighted color, because in the recording I set it up like that. For me, I will be just seeing a mouse pointer of Ubuntu Kylin, and it's a Chinese based Linux distro. For example, there is also a Deep in Linux distro and JingOS and like Cutefish OS. These are all the Linux based, not the Chinese. These are all the Chinese based Linux distros. On the look side, they always satisfy you by the look, but if you start using that, you should be having like a torture after using that Linux distros. That's the reason I always hate the Deep in Linux. I used that for one time and I never make that mistake. Just for the content I will be using that video, for the content I will be using that Linux distro, and I will be deleting as soon as the content is over, because I really hate that Linux distro. And try to ignore the background noise, because people are going crazy around my neighborhood. They know I am making a video, they wantedly make this type of noises because they hate of me making the videos. I don't know why. It's okay, let's try to boot it in. We have sorry for that. We have 2 options, like try Ubuntu Kylin and install here. If you ask my opinion, it's always best option to boot it in a live boot first, then go with installation. After you satisfied without bugs, all these things in the live boot, go with installation. Don't just use it for like 10 minutes or 5 minutes. Use it for good like 7 to 8 hours or up to one day. Don't save anything in a live boot, because it's going to delete everything after you reboot. So always boot it in a live boot first. After you satisfied without bugs, go with the installation. So I'm choosing English. There are plenty of languages available right here, and boot it in a live boot, like try Ubuntu Kylin. Click on try Ubuntu Kylin, which should boot it in a live boot. Which should take like 20 to 30 seconds to boot in the desktop layout. And you should be having your Ubuntu Kylin 23.04 Lunar Lobster completely loaded in a few seconds. So always a good option to boot it in a live boot. That's the sound of a Ubuntu Kylin. That's not from me. That is pretty loud. If you have a low sense or a low hearing thing, you should be hearing that loud sound. That is pretty loud. and my volume is also down, but it's also pretty loud. So here is our Ubuntu Kylin desktop. I'm running it on a VMware, so let me change the display resolution by going to application menu, settings, and you can see that's a bit of heavy on the usage, I guess. It takes a lot of time to load up as a single thing also. My monitor is 1920 into 1080, so I'm choosing that option. Let's go to about the Ubuntu Kylin. This is the information. If you want to go through this, you can go through this. Try to ignore the background noise because people are going crazy. They wantedly making the noises. Let's try to ignore that. So let me open the system monitor first, and mouse cursor is also a bit of slow. Let's open the application like this, and let's check the system monitor. We should be having our system monitor somewhere here. All letters. Let's go to S and check the system monitor here. Match system monitor. First go to the information. This is the information of Ubuntu Kylin. Version is this and the code name is this thing, and it's a 64-bit architecture. You already know Ubuntu will be available only in a 64-bit architecture, and Mac desktop environment is 1.26.0. I'm using a 4 GB of RAM, and this is my CPU, and graphics is unknown right now. Let's check the about version, which is a 1.26.0. This is the process running right now. These are all the processes running right now, as you can see. And let's go to the resources. Let me change the color of the CPU so you can properly see. The CPU is almost around under 40%, and RAM is also 1.3 GB. But I don't know what's the problem with the Ubuntu Kylin. This using a good memory, but it's still a bit of lag and delay somewhere. It takes a lot of time to load up everything. I don't know why, but the resources is low. Not that much low, but it's okay. It's quite common using 1.3 GB at the beginning of the video, but it takes a lot of time. That's the problem I'm facing with this flavors. Like for example, Ubuntu Studio, Ubuntu Budgie, and Ubuntu Kylin. These are the worst in my example. And you have also a bug you will commonly see in Ubuntu Kylin and Ubuntu Budgie. As soon as you open these apps, some of the apps, these are all the bugs you always face in every release. Whether it's a stable version, whatever the version you see, you will always find some of the bugs in Ubuntu Kylin and Ubuntu Budgie. These are the worst flavors of Ubuntu, in my opinion. I am saying it again, in my opinion, these are the worst flavors. So here is the CPU, here is the RAM. Let me go to the file system. So these are the options available. So let me open the terminal and check the information of the distro. Let's type in, let's open the mat terminal. Let's check the version first. The version is 1.26.0. Let's type in the command, which is inxi-sv8, which will grab every information of the distro. So we need to install the inxi first. Let me copy the command. Let me paste it here and click on enter. And click on Y or type in Y for yes and N for no to install the inxi. It should take a maximum of 20 to 30 seconds, and inxi should be installed in our PC. So I think we should be having our inxi installed. Let me type in the another same command, which is inxi-sv8, and we should be having our complete distro info. Let me scroll to top, and system, under system, host is a Ubuntu Kylin, kernel is a 6.2.0, 64-bit architecture, compiler is not available right now, distro is Ubuntu Kylin 23.04 Lunar Lobster, and light DM version is a 1.3.0. So I'm using it on a virtualization, which is a VMware. So it says a VMware everywhere in the machine. and BIOS FinoX version is a 6.0.0, and RAM is almost 1.34 GB, which is a 35% of 4 GB of RAM. And here is the CPU. If you want to go through all the CPU information, here is the CPU. Let me scroll it down and see other information. For example, display is X11, server is Xorg version 1.21.1.7, UKWM version is 1.1.4. So these are the monitors or the display resolutions available for the this distro. OpenGL version is a 4.1, Mesa is 23.0.2. So these are some of the information. Pulse audio version is a 16.1. So let me scroll it down, and the hard disk I choose for the VMware is a 80 GB of hard disk. So let's scroll it down. Processors running right now are 276. Uptime is 88 minutes. Init systemd version is a 252. Shell bash version is a 5.2.15. and INXI version is 3.3.25. Let me type in the some of the command which will give the same information as the above but in a short form, which is INXI. The other one is INXI-G. Don't worry, these are all the same information but in a short form. Let me type in another command which is INXI-b, which will also give the same information as the above. Let me type in cat/etc/issue and hit enter. The version is Ubuntu 23.04. Let's type in neofetch. If it's available, it should show up. Neofetch is not installed. Let's try to install. Some people need to know the neofetch, so for the sake of them, I'm going to type in the command. You need to type in Y to install. It takes a maximum of 20 seconds and you should be having your neofetch installed. And after neofetch, let's install the htop also. If it's available, it should be open. I think neofetch is completely installed, I guess. Neofetch is installed. So let's type in neofetch, and here is the neofetch command, and here are some of the information for the neofetch. If you want to read it down, you can pause the video and read it down. So let's type in another command which is a htop. Htop is not installed, so let's try to install the htop by copying the command which is a sudo apt install htop. It is not working properly, so let me type in sudo apt install htop and hit on enter. It's going to take a maximum of 12 seconds and it should be installed because it's pretty fast to install. So let's type in htop. Here is the htop. RAM is here, CPUs are upside, tasks are here. So let's check the version of the terminal, which we already saw, but no problem. And now I'm going to show you the official website of the Ubuntu Kylin and show you how to download the Ubuntu Kylin 23.04 from their website. The default web browser for the Ubuntu Kylin is Firefox. Let's check the version of Firefox, which is 311.0.1. So let's type in the search term, for example Ubuntu Kylin 23.04. This is the search term you need to provide or type in the search bar or in your search engine or your web browser. I'm using a VPN, so it's these are all my previous videos. If you want to go through this, you can go. This is my channel. So I already made a daily builds and a beta version before. As soon as the content or ISO file is released, I will be providing that. So if you want to subscribe, you can subscribe because I will be posting 2 videos. So this is the URL of the Ubuntu Kylin. So this is the release notes. If you want to read it, what are the new things? I showed every information already. So kernel, Mesa graphics and Ubuntu Kylin, these are already showed in the terminal command here. So these are the things I need to show, like a Mozilla Firefox web browser. I already showed the version also 311.0. Let me open the Thunderbird. So let's go through all these things and show the Thunderbird. LibreOffice will be 7.5. The Thunderbird version should be 102 because they mentioned here. I opened the Thunderbird. It should take a few seconds because Thunderbird will take a lot of time to open. So the version is 102.10.0. They already mentioned here. Let me open the LibreOffice and check the version, which should be like a 7.5.2.2 because these are all the versions in every Ubuntu flavors. The same version will be in the same. This is the 7.5.2.2. This is the version which already they mentioned here. Shotwell. Let's type in Shotwell here. And the version should be 0.30.17 because they mentioned here 0.30.18. We got a version here. Let's type in Remmina. Here is the Remmina. The version is 1.4.29. Transmission is a torrent client. So let's type in the torrent client transmission. I think it's not installed, no problem. So these are all the information which I already showed. If you want to upgrade, you can upgrade. If you want to install it, you can install it directly downloading this version. You need to type in the command to update like this. So that's the information here. Let's try to download the ISO file. These are the available options. Ubuntu Kylin. And here is the ISO file, which is around like 6.1 GB, which is very high in a high ISO file. If you have a limited internet connection, it will be hard to download this. If you have unlimited internet connection, there's no problem. I'm using a VPN, so it's pretty slow. Usually my internet speed will be like 10 MB per second. So I'm using a VPN, so it's pretty slow, no problem. So these are the process of downloading, and this is the website of their official website of Ubuntu Kylin. So let's go to the installation process because I want to show you the installation process. I'm going to show you the installation process just for the formality, and it is taking a few seconds here. We don't get a new installer of the Ubuntu, we get the old installer, which is pretty weird because the new Ubuntu installer is pretty fast with a GNOME desktop environment. We already saw that video too. If you didn't check that out, you can check that out in my channel. Just type in Ubuntu 23.04 in my channel. You should be having the video. First you need to choose the language. Click on continue. I'm choosing the English as the language for the installer. You need to choose the English United States, or you can choose your own language. I'm choosing English on both sides. You can test your keyboard here, or you can detect your keyboard layout here. Click on continue. It's going to take a few seconds. Under apps and updates and other software, you get two options like a normal installation and a minimal installation. After downloading a 6.7 GB, it will be not going with a minimal installation. That will be weird because you downloaded a 6.1 GB. Who will go with minimal installation just for the 6.1 GB? In your minimal installation, you just get a web browser and basic utilities like a text editor and some calculator like that. It will be a good option with if you go with a normal installation. If you're going with this other Linux distro, that will be very good idea because it's not worth using this Linux distro. In my opinion, it's not worth downloading a 6.1 GB and going to use this Linux distro. There are small size Linux distros or lightweight Linux distros. There are plenty of options available. So this is the installation. Let's go back to the installation process. I'm going to choose normal installation and check these both options because they're important. If you want to customize, you can do that later on your own. The other options are like downloading updates while installing. This will get the new latest updates, and the other option is it's going to install the third-party softwares like a graphics and Wi-Fi hardware, which will help in the internet connection and some playing the video media formats like that. So I'm going to choose both options. It's up to you to choose it or not. After clicking on continue, it's going to prepare the Ubuntu drivers. This may take like up to 30 seconds or minimum 20 to 30 seconds. It depends on the Linux distro. Sometimes it opens instantly, but sometimes it takes a lot of time. So instead of waiting, let's go through the desktop features, which are date and time, language selection, notifications, internet connection, volume, and some of the apps. And I think we have completed this thing. If you be careful while choosing this option, because it's going to erase the current operating system and it's going to install the Ubuntu Kylin. So it's going to delete everything, not the videos, everything, all the videos, pictures, all the available files in the hard disk going to delete it. So if you choose the erase disk, it's going to delete current operating system and install the Ubuntu Kylin. So be careful while choosing this option. These are the advanced options, like encrypting your Linux distro. And this something else is like creating a partition and choosing the partition. This will help like a dual operating system, so it's clearly up to you to choose or customize on your own. So I'm choosing erase disk, and clicking on install going to take like a 20 minutes of installation process, a maximum, or minimum like a 5 to 10 minutes, depends on the PC, depends on the Linux distro. So after that, it's going to say finish the installation and reboot your system, and you should be installed in your Ubuntu Kylin installed on your PC. If you choose the VMware, it's going to install on your VMware. If you choose the hard disk, it's going to choose on a hard disk. If you choose the dual operating system, it's going to give option like boot in dual operating systems. You will go give option like Ubuntu Kylin and other operating system. So it's the thing you choose here. So that's the installation process. Let me close this thing, and let's check out the wallpapers. Let's see what are the wallpapers available. Always remember, Chinese Linux distros or the Chinese based Linux distros will always go with the aesthetics first and the stable things later. They always try to grab the people's attention. Be careful while choosing these types of Linux distros, because you will be seeing like, oh, there's a good look and having a good look operating system. So don't go with always the look. You can customize it on your own by choosing the desktop environments. There are plenty of desktop environments. Always go with the stable Linux distros. Don't just go with the looks. So that's the main point I'm trying to explain here. So these are all the settings, as you can see. So home, system, touchscreen, default apps, power, auto boot, devices. On the devices, it's a bit of delay and lag, as you can see. You need to click in twice or thrice. So these are the options. On the personalized, theme, background, screen lock, font, screensaver, desktop. I'm going to run this pretty fast because it's a pretty bad Linux distro in my opinion. It's hard to even make a video on this types of Linux distro. For the sake of the content, I'm trying to make it for you guys. So that's the information, and that's are the options available. So let's go through the file manager. Let's check the file manager version. Can't see that things, no problem. And mouse cursor is also not properly working in this Linux distro. Peony version number 3.2.2. Let's check the available or the pre-installed apps which comes with the Ubuntu Kylin. We opened almost every important app, so let's just go through these things. So these are all the pre-installed apps. So let me open software manager or software center. This is also the worst software center I've seen. You need to update pretty much every time, and it's going to open the software center, which is not worth it to use it. I'm pissed because it's 6.1 GB of a file size of ISO, and you don't get the stable ISO. That's the problem here. This is my opinion. It's clearly up to you. So this is the software manager. You need to choose your language after the installation. If you're booting in a live boot, it will be hard to choose the languages. So always boot it in a live boot. After you're satisfied, go with the installation. I'm saying it again and again because I don't want you to ruin your PC. So that's the pro tip or the opinion or suggestion for you. Always boot it in a live boot first. Then if you're satisfied, go with the installation. People don't stop making noises behind my house, man. That's pretty problem for me. even I wake up at midnight and make at 3 or 2, there will be some noises around my neighborhood. They wantedly make these noises because they know I'm making a content for you guys. So that's the problem. I can't run from that thing. So these are the information I gave. So let me open the system monitor and end the video and end this misery by using this Linux distros. So let's go to the processes. These are the processes running right now, and the resources. Just you see the beginning of the video of the memory and ending of the video. You should be getting an exact numbers of how much resources are consumed. I didn't open that many apps, so these are the memory, 1.6 GB right now at the end of the video. So CPU is here. So it's clearly up to you to use it or not. After downloading a 6.1 GB, it's your opinion, or you can only judge to use this Linux distro or not. In my opinion, there are plenty of other Linux distros to use. This is not the best Linux distro to use. So again, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, hit the thumbs up button. It helps make a good content for you. Other than that, I'll see you in tomorrow's video. I already made another video, so if you want to check that out, you can check that out. So that's it for the video. Thanks for watching. Peace out.